Oh, snap!
The world is finally waking up to the crap that's baked into and sprayed on kibble dog food. No longer can commercial pet food manufacturers fool us with pretty pictures and false promises. This is the raw dog food truth. The view and opinions expressed on this podcast are not intended to replace medical advice. Before starting any raw diet, do research, ask lots of questions, and consult your vet.
Well, hello, raw feeders. I'm DeDe Mercer-Moffat, the CEO of Raw Dog Food and Company, where your pet's health is our business and we're friends. Don't let friends feed kibble, like my friend Nealy Piazza. Hello, my friend.
Hi, y'all.
How you
What's
doing?
happening? I'm good.
You're
Good.
always good. You're good for the people. You're good for the pets. You're just all around good. Hey, what are you finding out in homeopathy?
It works. Personal success story.
Oh, good. Let's hear.
Okay, so I've been having trouble with Mabel's teeth for a while, right?
And Mabel is your how old corgi?
Mabel's 13.
13. All righty.
But this is how, and let me set this up for people as to how this happened. And some people may not believe it, but this is what happened and this is why. Take it or leave it. So remember when we went to Louisiana to pick up Riva and we took Mabel and Hazel?
Yes.
And it was in the summer. Well, in the summer, it was in September, I think. And we came home with fleas, right? So I was still at the kennel then, and so I asked Natessa to give Mabel a bath to get to wash the fleas off. And so she gave her all the shampoos we used there were basically natural. They weren't like the super organic high quality stuff, but they were non-scented, basically mostly decent ingredient stuff. But she used the flea shampoo.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how I am with smells, and I couldn't get within 10 feet of her without gagging. So I'm like, okay, you got to wash that off. Do something. Can wash her again, get that smell off. And so she did. So Mabel, who, never gets a bath unless she rolls in poop or something, got 2 baths in the same day. Well, so her with soap, usually even if they do get a bath, it's like just with water. And if with her, it was always if she likes to roll in poop. So she might get soaped where the poopy part was, but that was it. So her skin biome was totally stripped, and within a couple of weeks, she was itching like crazy and had hot spots.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through rebuilding that. So we went through all kinds of stuff trying to get that cleared up and rebuilding that. Next thing I know, she has rotten teeth.
Ew.
I mean, out of the blue. Her teeth have always been fine. And out of the blue, all this happening within a couple months of each other, her teeth went bad. I'm like, holy crap. So about that point, we had anesthesia-free teeth cleaning group that came once a month or whatever. But they the vet had been in an accident and they quit coming, so I had nobody to take her to do that. So I was kind of halfway on the look for another one, and I finally got her into one, and her teeth were so loose they wouldn't do her. So I'm like, holy crap. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have to take her I'm gonna freaking have to take her to the vet. And we all know how hard it is to get, if you're not already in, to get in with one, right? And I was like, she wouldn't let me scrape them myself because it was too painful. And so all this while I'm looking up what to do and what kind of supplement, what kind of homeopathy, yada yada yada. So I got a seaweed plaque supplement that actually one of my clients told me about. I had seen it, but they mentioned it, said that they used it and it actually worked. I'm like, really? Okay, well, I'll try it. I mean, what can it hurt, right? And I had talked to my study group a couple times about it, and so I put together this homeopathic concoction that's got about 5 different remedies in it for, for bone, for infection, for plaque, and then there's another one that um um just kind of as a side effect has been shown to knock plaque off. So I put this concoction together and put it in a water dose in a bottle, and um been giving her that mostly every day and doing the supplement. So I've been working on this for 3 or 4 months ish, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And every week or two, I'll lift her lip and look at her mouth and see how she's doing. And her mouth smelled like, it smelled like something crawled up in there and died and was putrefying. And I noticed that her breath wasn't as bad. So just within the last 2 weeks has been a dramatic shift. Her teeth are almost clean. Her gums are pink instead of, they were like bright cherry red with the the line all the way around and all that, the inflammation line, and her teeth were black. The molars were, the front ones were fine, but the molars were black. And now I also started giving her more bone more often, giving her duck feet more often, and she'll eat it on the side she could chew on. So I always watch her when she eats it, and she's gotten not quite so careful as to which side she chews on. But so on the bad side, she's still got plaque, a decent amount of plaque at the right around the gum line, but her gums are pink. They're not inflamed anymore. Her breath doesn't smell bad. She'll let me open her mouth, and it's like 85% improved from what it was when I started. And that's all without any physical scaling or anything. So
Wow. How long did that take?
it's been a while, but it's 3 to 4-ish months.
So that is really what trips people up with homeopathy, isn't it? It is the long, it is the time frame. And then if you jump the gun, right? If you jump the gun and go back to the traditional way, well, you might get some Band-Aid results, but you're not going to get long-term. You're not going to get really long-term.
And think about it. This is like plaque and calculus on teeth, right? This is not even that I didn't use any physical cleaning or anything. And it was bad enough that I actually made an appointment with her at the emergency vet in Loveland at the dental specialist. And they told me, my estimate was $3,000 to $5,000.
What?
And, I was going to do it because I could tell it was painful.
3,000 to 5,000, but yeah, our dental stuff's expensive.
And I kept thinking about it and I was like, every time I do this, I regret it. Every time I do this, I regret it. And then, I got hurt, and that was just enough of a push to cancel that appointment. So I canceled the appointment, and now I've had this much improvement. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So even I fall into that trap of, oh my gosh, I have to go to the vet. But
So
there you go.
I would imagine that it is somewhat difficult for you, as it is for me, when you've spent a lot of time. Obviously, you and I have done a lot of consultations. We spend a lot of time with people, and then it just kind of gets thrown by the wayside because the traditional way comes back.
Yeah, they get scared about something, or they lose patience, or they get convinced, somebody convinces them, and then, you know, it but I'm telling you, it's never the answer. It just is never, or it's never the only answer. In my opinion, it's pretty much never the right answer either, but
Yeah.
I'm a little extreme there, but you know, I mean, if you can, it, this is, I mean, we're talking about rotten teeth with plaque that
Hmm.
diet and homeopathy has made an 85% improvement. And I didn't have to put her through surgery. I mean, she'd have been under general anesthesia. She's 13 years old. She has an issue with her throat from when she was a puppy. She got attacked when she was a puppy, and I was terrified to have her intubated um because of that. And so, you know,
What is it about homeopathy that makes it work? I mean, what is it that you see now that you've been working so much with that is so valid?
well, basically, uh, um people argue with it, but this is the way I see it. Everything is frequency, and everything in the body is frequency. Everything resonates with something. Um, and homeopathy is diluted and succussed to the point where there's really not any of the original um substance remaining in the preparation. So um it's all like an essence or a frequency or whatever, however you want to look at it, of the original substance. So anything that is um a toxin in its gross form is diluted down so much that all that's left is the um frequency or energetic of it, however you kind of want to picture it. So you introduce that frequency to the body, and it resonates differently and changes the body's reaction. So a body is capable of healing anything.
Even cancer?
Oh yeah, cancer is not even what they tell you it is anyway. So, but yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, I mean, you can be to the point where you're so compromised and so weak, and the vital force or chi or prana or whatever you want to call it is so um pushed down and exhausted that it may not be able to bounce back. But um if you're at that point, conventional medicine isn't going to do anything for you either.
Right? Dr. Jason and I were talking about cancer, about how crazy it is that you, in chemotherapy, kill off all of your natural killer cells, you kill off your neutrophils, you kill off all of your white blood cells that actually their purpose is to go in and eat up bad bacteria and eat up inflammation and all that kind of stuff. And when you go that traditional route, you are killing off those white blood cells. Now, there are people who go in for chemotherapy and who say, well, yes, it's killed my white blood cells, but they're going to give me some sort of shot injection that's going to help revitalize those blood cells. I'd really like to see the science on that, because how does that work? Does that really work?
No,
Right.
chemotherapy doesn't work. Radiation therapy doesn't work. The whole cancer um um paradigm is not, well, I don't think I want to go there, but it's it's not what you think it is. And it's not no conventional. If you're treated for cancer conventionally and you recover, it's in spite of, not because of.
But, you know, everything that we do is trying to change that paradigm, that narrative. I was talking with Brian, and he was telling me that Kimberly Gaither, you may have heard this on her podcast. She was talking to somebody who actually there's some sort of formulation out there where you can plug stuff in and see where your, you know, vitamins and minerals are. But anyway, her vet had said all you need to do is, you know, feed chicken and rice. And because she was feeding raw. And so she basically did this comparison for him. And even though he saw the holes in what he was recommending, he basically said, if you continue to feed raw, I'm not going to be your vet anymore. To which I would have said, thank God, and gone and got me a different vet. But I just found that fascinating that even in spite, even in light of documentation that would show them that what they're recommending is sphincter food and sphincter knowledge, they're not going to change their stance. It's really difficult for them.
Yeah.
You're like, and
Well, and to the opposite, I guess people could say that of me too, because, there's studies out there that quote unquote show that kibble is better and all that, but I mean,
where
nobody's ever gonna make me believe that.
I
Well,
don't know where would you see that? Okay, so I went Susan Thixton's site, and I was looking at, because I remember I put this information in a video that I did, and I was just talking about this on the last two podcasts, that 98% of all of the recalls that have been out there, Niels, have been from kibble fed dogs or been in the kibble food. Sorry, kibble food.
Recalls with actual sick or dead dogs.
Right. And
yeah,
like 0.02% in the raw community. And that is from no sick dogs at all.
Right.
And
exactly.
Yet we could take that information to the vets and they still wouldn't care.
Yeah, they wouldn't believe us.
And I mean, I'm like, all right, well, I don't know how many of you have to go through the heartache of these awful cancers before maybe you might look in another direction. I don't know. Sometimes do you get depressed? Sometimes I get depressed.
Oh yeah, it's totally depressing that well, the lady that I talked to today, she adopted a puppy from a rescue, and it was 4 months old, and it got all its shots and spayed and all that stuff, and she's she's a homeopathy student now, so this was before. And this puppy had, well, they were going to board it, so it got a whole nother round of shots and rabies shots and heartworm stuff, and then it got Bravecto and all this other stuff, and she, I mean, she figured it out relatively quickly compared to most people. I mean, within the first year, she was like, "Wait, this messed up," and she's she when she took her dog to the vet and they prescribed it Prozac because it was itching, she said, "Okay, I'm done." She said, "I didn't give it the Prozac, and I went and found a holistic vet." And so, it only took a little less than a year for all of this stuff to come full circle for her. And she's like, "Okay, there's definitely something wrong with this." But even the holistic vet had given her, low dose steroids here and there, which makes things worse too. But I mean, I get it. Sometimes you're in such a quandary that you don't know what to do, and you have to like get some relief to even step back and be able to think about things clearly, But and now this dog is so reactive to everything that um it's almost hard to know where to start. I mean, we talked about diet. She was doing a great job there. We tweaked a few things and looked at it a little energetically and switched a couple of proteins around and things like that, but it was minimal tweaking to her diet. And the only reason we did that was because this dog was just so miserable. And relatively normal dog, it would have been perfectly good. Um, and so we introduced a couple of homeopathic protocols for a couple of specific things, and then we're going to reevaluate and go deeper in a couple of weeks. But there's a few acute things that are going on right now that she wanted to address first. So, but this poor dog, because of conventional medicine, has been living in a cone for over a year.
Oh my God.
You know, she said, she said she can take it off when she's eating and when she's on walks and stuff. But if she's not basically got her hand on her, if she doesn't have a cone on, she's a bloody mess. And I had another dog that was like that too, that she was in a pretty stressful, bad situation, and she finally got moved out, and she found a holistic vet, and um they did low dose steroids on her too, so I'll be interested to see how that turns out. But she didn't realize it, but we had gotten a lot of things straightened out, but um that dog was in a cone for a while too. So
Can you
anyway,
imagine? We should put cones on people's heads and see if they like that. I mean, I get it. They're trying to keep the dog from itching, but was she angry with the vet? I mean, I would have been ticked.
oh yeah, she was, yeah, but I mean, at that point, what good does it do? She's has been, like I said, she's a homeopathy student. She found homeopathy and she's learning herself. And she um found raw shortly, the dog was a year and a half or so old when she started doing raw. She knew that was a better thing to do, and she quit vaccinating and all that stuff. So, she made all the right moves, and the more she learned, the further away she went. But um yeah, it's infuriating that it's heartbreaking when you have somebody that is willing to try it, but they're not willing to stick it out, and then they get desperate and they go to the vet and they get steroids or something, and that is just gonna make everything 10 times worse, and you try to say that, but they do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then it's like it makes it that much harder to fix or to address. And at some point there's a point of no return. I mean, you can pretty much always improve, but you may not ever get to the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm. You know,
I mean,
I want to go back to what you said though. You where in the world, Neely, is the argument there that kibble is better than raw? Where is
oh,
that
I don't know. I lost my faith in science a long time ago, but there's just as many articles or papers that say that kibble is complete and balanced and appropriate food. Actually, probably more, because big dog food pays for them versus, everybody says, where's the studies on raw? Where's the studies on raw? Well, there's not very many because there's nobody to pay for them because it's not a big industry like that. So, you can find studies that say anything. That doesn't mean they're right. It just, you know, but I've worked in a lab. I've written grants. I've been involved in all that kind of stuff. And I know how it goes. Um, you can't trust any of it. So this whole follow the science is bullshit as far as I'm concerned, because science lost any meaning decades ago.
There's no way that a pet parent would say, I'm going to give you toxic crap. I was listening the other day. They were talking about the fake meat that's out there,
Hmm.
the Beyond Beef. They were trying to make an egg out of a non-chicken, right? So it was like not a real egg. And all these companies are kind of failing because nobody wants that food. And they were talking about it, and they were saying, look, it's toxic. It's just not toxic. They called it a chemical compound of food. Right. And I'm
Hmm.
like, well, that's exactly what kibble is. And they've sold it to dogs forever. So, they're trying to sell it to people.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's the hardest thing, right? That's the
Well,
hardest thing to get people to realize.
in my mind, anybody that is feeding raw but insists on adding kibble is only doing the raw as a status symbol because they think it's cool. Well, if you really believed in raw, you would be you wouldn't go near kibble.
Well, I don't think that they're trying to be cool because I don't know that they're, out there telling everybody because I think that they're still this weird
Well, they
stigma.
don't they don't believe then. There's some other reason, but they've got to believe that something's missing, or why in the hell are they giving kibble?
I don't know. I don't know. That I think that's what makes our job very hard because we're like, I don't understand, right?
Yeah,
That doesn't make sense.
it
But
makes zero sense.
it makes zero sense. It makes zero sense. And it's like we our job is to help your dogs be healthy, right? That's our job. That's our goal. That's our mission. And I sort of feel like a failure sometimes because I'm like, am I just not explaining it correctly? Am I not being compassionate enough? Am I what's wrong with me? Why can't,
What am I missing?
what what am I not doing here? And so some days I'm just like, well, okay, okay. I just say okay. Because it's sort of like somebody emailed me the other day and they were saying that they wanted a 3% fat. Okay.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
A 3% fat. And I was like, well, why?
Why?
What? I don't have anything that's 3% fat. I wouldn't sell anything 3% fat. And the response was, well, because 3% is actually like 40%. And I I was like, what? I that doesn't even make sense. How can 3% actually be 40% fat? And I shared that with you. You kind of knew what was going on because you knew the program that this particular pet parent was operating from. There's a whole program out there where they feed plants, meat. So yeah, plant day, meat
Have
day,
plant days and meat
and
days and
fast
fast
days.
days. Yeah,
And
and
and that whole concept was, all right, all of your dog's issues are from the fat. And I'm asking you this because you're not on the high fat bandwagon. Okay. So this concept is, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you know it better than I do, that all your dog's problems are because of the toxins that are trapped in the fat in the dog.
well, that I think that's what I don't know if that's the whole basis of the program, but that's what the email said. She was like, which is true, animals do store toxins in fat, but that does not mean that all fat is crammed full of toxins, because I mean that one that depends on the toxic exposure and the toxic load of the animal to start with. I mean, if he's not overburdened with toxins, he's not going to store them anywhere. He's going to process them and eliminate them. So you're not going to have any. or not very many. And then you have to have some level of fat for, fat soluble vitamins and fatty acids and vitamin D and all that stuff, right? So you do need some component of fat, and I am definitely not a proponent of high fat, never have been. And the other thing, she was wanting you to give her a beef blend with 3% fat. Well, there's not any beefs walking around that are 3% fat.
They're
So
the real skinny cows out there.
right, you have to I went and looked at just average um percentages of different different animals, different proteins have differing amounts of fat. I mean, yeah, the way they're raised and the way they're grown has a lot to do with it, definitely. um but some animals are naturally higher in fat than others. So like beef and bison, beef are naturally higher in fat, or cows are naturally higher in fat than bison are. That's just the way they're built, regardless of how they're raised. um so you have to take that into account too. But that whole 3% is 40%, she was either talking about um on a
Dry
dry
matter.
matter basis, which is not the way that these percentages are done. These are actually, is this percent of this that's in this container by weight. Um, and or they were looking at caloric too, because fat is twice as high in calories as, I mean, there's twice as many calories in fat as there is in protein in the same amounts. But um, so realistically, basically what she was saying was, kind of true, but it was taken out of context a little bit. There's other factors to be considered. So not every prey animal is gonna have that same toxic load. I mean, that goes back to cancer. That's how you get cancer. It's a toxin storage, basically.
Yeah,
Body didn't have.
cancer. We were talking, about that with Dr. Jacek yesterday, and cancer is so crazy to me because if cancer is actually the cells dividing because something has gone wrong and they're trying to survive, but then that division causes all of our other bodily functions to not work properly, then it kills us. I'm just like, what the heck is going on here?
They've been studying cancer for how long? And who was it that said, the war on cancer, and we're going to find a, that was back in the 60s or 70s or something. That was Nixon that said that, wasn't it? Or was he the war on drugs? I forget. Anyway, um, it's a total industry. There's all kinds of ways to cure cancer. There's all kinds of ways to prevent cancer. I mean, I don't even, I don't even acknowledge it. I won't even let it into my sphere of being. I just don't acknowledge it. It's a non-starter for me. And
Well,
it's
you have to acknowledge it because you deal with it though.
well, no. I don't. I don't I I actually don't. Um but cancer's been cured tens or hundreds of times over. It's just been, the information has been squashed and hidden and all, because it's a full-on industry. And just like heart disease, just like diabetes, just like all this other stuff. I mean, all those things have easy cures in 95% of situations. They're not going to tell you what's really going on. And if you're not like doing the experiments yourself, you don't know what's actually going on. Science, like I said, science is gone completely off the rails. And you really can't trust anything that you read in any peer-reviewed article anymore. I mean, the the pharmaceutical companies own the journals. They own the editors. They decide what gets published, what gets funded.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. I was, reading in the Epic Times where, or was it Children's Health Defense, which now they're trying to make Robert Kennedy a conspiracy theorist. Okay, whatever. Not that
Yeah,
he did.
whatever.
Yeah. Look, if you have the documentation, the real documentation that doesn't get hidden, and you've got the people that have the issues that you're trying to help, right? Then I'm going to listen to you. What I'm not going to listen to is when they start calling names and saying, "Oh, you can't argue with a conspiracy theorist." Okay. What does that mean? That means I don't want you to hear about this information.
Everything, everything now is just so absolute. Everything is backwards, and I don't know how anybody gets caught up in any of the narratives that are going on, or even other than just sitting back and watching, saying, "How did people get so freaking stupid? How how is anybody believing any of this crap is true?
Right.
How is anybody not like see right through this? I mean, it's just beyond stupid."
Well, so what I was referring to was this 28-year-old basketball player, right? He just died of myocarditis, and he had stated a year ago that the vaccine had given him myocarditis and that he had to do it to keep playing. Now, there are players, very, very few, that stopped playing in light of that. But he was just doing a stress test and died the other day.
Yeah, see, there you go. And I heard that there were, you know, I think I think it was a I can't remember what sport it was now. But he was saying that, that whole thing with the NBA and the NFL and all of um the sports leagues that were requiring the players to be vaccinated and all that stuff. If you were an established player in a good point in your career or whatever, um, a good portion of them just had the doctor sign their paper. They didn't actually do it. They just said they did and took the paper and went on with it. Nobody said anything. If you were an incoming guy or somebody that was struggling to make the team or, second string or whatever, then you didn't get that courtesy.
Oh, oh my gosh.
So that's why um if you notice it was all the young guys that had so much trouble and crapped out, right?
Wow.
They're
Wow.
struggling to make the team and keep their spot and stay on the roster and all that. Whereas the made guys basically were, they to some degree complied, but not really. And look at Djokovic. He like straight up said, "I'm not doing that."
Whoa. Did you just say
And
that?
yeah, I didn't mean to,
I'm gonna
but
have to
yeah,
bleep that.
yeah, bleep that. Sorry. Um, but I mean, he's number one tennis player in the world for I don't know how many years, and he's like, "No, I'm not doing it." And they threw him out of Australia,
Oh
and
yeah.
they wouldn't let him play. They wouldn't let him play most of the majors, and then a couple of weeks ago, he won the French Open. Where all these other guys that went ahead and did it, they're all crapping out.
Mm. Yeah, it's and so when I look at dogs, I think uh, when things like happen like that, and we just don't even recognize that it's what we're talking about, and they're not going to recognize it. They are not going to recognize it. So if you think that you're going to go in and talk to your oncologist or talk to your vet, and they're going to say, "Oh, you're right, it's not the raw food that you're on, it's not the fresh food that you're on, it is all of this other stuff that I promoted and I got paid on and I got commission on," they're not going to
Hmm.
say that. So i'm
No,
not
they're not.
so I'm not certain why, when we get called or you do a consult that people say, well, I'm going to go talk to my vet. I'm like, well, why did you even call me? Go talk to your vet first. Right? Go talk to
Yeah.
your vet first, because if they can talk you out of it, then there's no reason for us to have a conversation. I mean, that's really true. And I think that's where some of that banging my head against the door comes in, and you too, where we're just like, okay, we,
I will
people,
tell you though, the vast majority of people that listen to me and do what I tell them to do and follow through, full on follow through, are successful.
right?
And I mean, I had one person just this week had another email me with another issue, and she did go to the vet, but only to verify what was happening. And I told her what to do, and she was like, "Oh, by the way, I had a consult with her about a different dog a while back, and that dog's fixed." I mean, great success with what was happening with that dog. And so, that's that's always really encouraging. At this point in time, I am having a lot of people that I have talked with previous in the past couple years. Um, they will email me and ask me first before they go to the vet,
Nice.
which tells me that whatever whatever I had advised them before must have worked, or they wouldn't feel comfortable asking me. So,
Well, this is why I think that it is valuable to work with Neely Piazza. All right. So many certificates, so many um, studies that you've done. You know where to go find the information. You can give people the option. All right. You can say, look, here is probably what you're going to experience at the vet. And if they don't tell you what the side effects are, I'm probably going to let you know. And, and then you can make that decision. And I think that if we give people the questions and the answers, the cheat sheet, right, before they go in, then that is beneficial. Just like I don't think, Neely, that vets expect for pet parents to come back and say, hey, that prescription diet, it's a kibble. Okay. What is prescription? Don't even ask them that, because there's nothing prescription in there. But they probably don't know that 98% of all recalls came from the kibble food. 98%. So you can ask them, okay, so let me just make sure, Dr. Whitecoat, this is what you're recommending. You're recommending that for my dog who's in an immune compromised or a nutritionally compromised or skin compromised or a gastrointestinal compromised situation. Let me just make sure I understand it correctly. You want my dog to eat a food that has a 98% recall attached to it. Is that correct? Is that what you're suggesting?
well,
And if they don't believe you, then you can come to us, or you can go to Susan Thixton on her website. All that's documented. I'm not pulling it out of my sphincter. Documented from the FDA. I don't even like them. And
oh no, the FDA needs to go away. The
and,
FDA totally needs to go away.
yeah. And so, but that is documented. But, you can be very nice and just say, I just want to make sure I understand that this is what you're recommending. This is what you're signing off on. This is what your expertise, all that schooling that you had, this is what you're telling me as a doctor of health that took an oath that said, first, do no harm. I'm just wanting to know.
Well, then they're gonna just call you stupid.
That's all right. I've been called worse.
I
But
mean,
how are you being called stupid? How are you being called stupid when you are just stating facts?
well, they twisted it around. That's happened to me several times. You call them out on it, and it's like, well, I'm the one that went to school for it, and I'm the one that knows what I'm talking about, and you're just you just work at a kennel. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but they don't know you from come here. They don't know come here from
I
sick and
know,
bat
but
you.
that's what they say. I've heard that more than once, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, that is one of the top responses is that I went to school. Okay, but who owns the information of the school that you went to? I mean, you
The funny part is I was in school at least 10 years longer than any of them. So
and you weren't being influenced by
uh-uh.
the powers that be. And that really is the question. I
And I
mean,
still figured it out.
but here's the thing, Nealy, just exactly what they have said. Okay. I want to take what they have said, their words, not ours, their words. We're the ones that went to school. We're the doctors. All right, cool. How did you come to recommend a vaccine that is causing major adverse effects and major deaths in our country? How is that? You are the doctor after all, because here's the excuse I've heard. Well, we were just doing what we were told. What? Wait a minute. You can't ride you can't, let's see, what is the saying? You can't ride a horse with two asses. One horse with two asses. Is that the saying?
I don't know.
Something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's something like that. You can't,
You can't have your cake and eat it too. Is that what you're trying to say?
that's it. I mean, that's probably a better one. Whatever. You can't go on, but one is not true.
You can't have it both ways.
I mean, this is a thing. You can't have it both ways.
Well, what I hear is, oh, there's no proof of that. Oh, you can't prove that. Or that's not true. Or that's just an old wives' tale. Or
Well, here's what I would say to that. Well, why can't I prove it?
Well, I don't know. You're arguing with the choir. I mean, this is the whole point. I mean, I see zero reason to go in the first place.
Look, people are going to go. People are going to go because they are afraid that if they don't go, that something's going to happen to their dogs and then they're going to feel terrible. So they're going to go. They're going to go. Now, the question is, how can you go and keep your dog safe? Really, that is the ultimate question. How do I go and keep my dog safe? Well,
don't let them inject them with anything, and don't let them put anything in their mouth.
There you go. You can run a test. You want to run a test? Run a test. But before you put anything in their veins or put it in their mouth, you need to understand what the consequences could be. Right? Because it does seem like that pet parents just want the information. It's sort of like, I've said, if your dog has cancer, but you know that if your dog has cancer, you're not going to put them through chemotherapy, you're not going to do surgery.
Well, yeah, a lot of times the question is, well, regardless of how this test comes back, how is that going to change what I'm going to do?
Right.
Most of the time it's not. So what's the point? I'm just
Right.
giving away $200 or $300 for no reason.
Right. And the best thing you can do for any situation when a pet is sick or having issues is clean up the diet, clean up the toxins. And you're not going to go wrong doing that. If your dog's in pain, there are good pain relievers that we can do. If it's end of stage, does it matter? If it's truly the end of stage, right? There's always going to be that situation, Niels, where we're going to do whatever we can to save our pets. But the question is what you're going to do actually going to save them? or is it just going to be like us,
Or just prolonging the suffering.
Yeah, which is what my cousin was asking me, about this Yorkie. She was saying, he had that tumor on his liver and he started getting fluid around the heart, and they were doing the latex shots to help get the fluids out, I guess.
Oh,
And she's
Lasix.
I'm sorry, yeah. And latex, that wouldn't be good, would it?
No, I was like, what is that?
Let me shoot a little rubber in there. But the but the her question was, am I just prolonging the inevitable? Right. And so, that is always the question. That is always the question that pet parents have. And it's a tough one.
Well, and it depends on why. If the dog's happy and interacting and comfortable, then whatever.
Well,
Give
he
it whatever
wasn't.
it wants. But if they're not, if you're just keeping them alive for the sake of keeping them alive, then that's something to kind of consider. I mean, everybody's gonna come up with a different answer to that, but
You know what? And this dog just passed away at home, which is what most of us wish would happen, right?
yeah.
And as hard as that is, I I I
Mhm.
I personally think it's harder, as I have been through, holding an animal and having that, injection at that point, because that's just, yeah, that's tough. Most pet parents pray that their animals will just pass on naturally, and unfortunately that doesn't seem to happen very often. But yeah, he was having trouble breathing and that sort of thing. But it's so hard. It's so very hard. And God bless her. I mean, she went to a holistic vet and her own vet and worked with us for a short amount of time. Um, and that was yeah, it was hard. It was hard on him. I don't know. We don't have all the answers for that, but we do know this. Um, Toxins will never make a pet healthy.
Yeah. And all pharmaceuticals are toxins.
Well, and kibble's pretty toxic.
Oh,
Um,
kibble too, yeah.
you
Already
know,
said that though.
yeah. Well, you can you can look up the ingredients and just the allowances that the FDA allow in certain things like animal digest, animal byproducts, that sort of thing. They let a lot of things through.
Well,
So,
look at the ingredients and ask yourself, would you eat any of that?
Neely, have you turned? I know you eat whole foods, but turn over just a package of, I don't know, even chicken, right? Chicken, let's just say raw chicken in the grocery store. It doesn't just say raw chicken. Have you
Oh
seen
yeah,
it?
it's got all the injected um plump up stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's like acid this and blah 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 and blah blah blah. I mean,
It's all to make it look pretty and plump.
right. And then when they get the raw food, they're like, "Oh, it doesn't look like the stuff in the grocery store." Why? Because we don't add stuff to it.
Don't add all that crap to it.
Right? So, I mean, but if you're hard pressed, even at the grocery store, to find anything that is just that. A banana is a banana, but is it organic or not organic? I mean, okay. But, right? You have to stay on
Yeah.
the outsides or everything that you pick up. First of all, if you don't have your glasses on, you can't even read it because it's so dang small.
I
I'm
know. I know. It's gotten to where, yeah, you have to have not only glasses, but a magnifying glass too in order to read labels.
It's like,
So you
well,
shrunk everything down so little.
well, and here's the thing, even if I can't read it, I know there's a big block of stuff that goes on in
Yeah.
there for
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I don't even have to read that. That list is too long.
Yeah, right. So I'm just like, It's I don't know, it's hard pressed to find good food. But here's the thing. You can do the best that you can do, and that's get your dogs on a species appropriate diet. Get them off the kibble. There is nothing good about kibble. Sorry, nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Um,
No redeeming qualities. There's nothing good about pharmaceuticals either.
So get over to Raw Dog Food and Company, get your dog on a species appropriate diet, but you also want to work with somebody like Nealy Piazza. All right. And like she said, one of the benefits of working with Nealy and becoming one of her clients is that when that time comes that you might need to go to the vet, you can contact Nealy and talk it over with her first. And you can probably get informed consent on this side versus that side. And, I don't know. You can just ask the questions. You can ask the questions that you may not get answered at the vet. You can get help from Nealy in regards to what you might need to ask. But that's what you guys want to do. You want to get over, sign up with Nealy Piazza. You can do it through my website, which is rawdogfoodandcompany.com. She's in the expert section. Or you can go to Nealy's website, which is whole, WHOLE, wholeanimalwellness.com. Wholeanimalwellness.com. That's where Miss Nealy is. All right, Nealy, thanks so much for joining the podcast today. We appreciate you.
I love y'all too.
Here at rawdogfoodandcompany.com, where your pet's health is our business. And what, Nealy?
Friends don't let friends feed kibble.
Never. Okay. Bye
Never.
now. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Oh, snap.
Find out how you can start your dog on the road to health and longevity. Go to rawdogfoodandcompany.com, where friends don't let friends feed kibble and where your pet's health is our business.
Just snap.